I've been training for almost 6 years, going from skinny fat to now having a pretty decent physique, I would say. And I've tried basically everything. I've gone up and down 4 times, gaining weight, regaining weight, everything. All the diets, all the workouts. And almost all of it is complete bullshit. Because all of the videos that you see, there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of contradictory information, and in this video I want to talk about all of the advice I would give myself if I would have started again. And if I would have taken this advice, I would have been a lot bigger, a lot leaner, a lot faster. So this is all advice I would want to share to myself. Now, there's 3 main things that you need in order to lose fat and get lean. And of course that is nutrition, weightlifting, and then lastly cardio. But when you hear that, it's like alarms going off in your head, and it used to do that with me as well, because when people think about nutrition, they think about extreme diets like keto, carnivore, whatever, I don't know. Like any diet is extreme, or they think that you need to eat bland food, boring food. That's not the case, and I want to clear that up here. And a lot of people, they think that they need to go on an extreme calorie deficit, like completely starving themselves, and that is completely wrong. And when it comes to the weight training, a lot of people think that going to the gym 5 times a week, an hour every single time, that is the most optimal way. I think a completely different way. And when it comes to cardio, yeah, let's just get to that when the time comes, because I have a lot of information to share with you there, because there's a lot of different ways to do it. Because fat loss and health is 2 different things. And yeah, a lot of the things that people are doing, like for example going on running for an hour, boxing, sweating their asses off, that is not the way to actually do it for fat loss. But first, when it comes to the nutrition, the first part of the 3 things that we need to talk about, this is where we need to go to the fundamentals, because you cannot out-train a bad diet. And a bad diet is very subjective, but a bad diet for me is just a diet that doesn't achieve your goals. Because technically you could eat pizzas all days and lose fat, because calories in and calories out is somewhat true. There is a little bit of nuance there, but as a general rule, just think calories in and calories out. If you burn more than you consume, you will lose fat, no matter how weird your metabolism might be or what your genetics are. If you eat less than you eat less than you burn, you will lose fat, vice versa. So that being cleared up, now you need to know, okay, how much should you eat to just maintain your weight? Because as you may know, you need to be in a calorie deficit, meaning you burn more than you eat. And when you do that, that little deficit, that will make you lose fat over time. And yes, it will take a long time. It will actually take longer if you starve yourself, but that's just the name of the game. The way that we want to do this is make it as effortless as humanly possible and as easy and enjoyable as possible. And this is what I've truly figured out. So when it comes to the maintenance calories, this is the baseline. How much should you eat to just stay the same weight? My suggestion to you is to go on the internet, find 3 calculators to figure out your maintenance calories, and then take the average of those 3. Because most calculators on the internet are completely off, and this has sidetracked me personally a lot. For example, when I was starting to diet, I didn't lose any weight, because I thought I was burning way more than I actually did. And when I went on to bulking again, a couple of years later, then I overate way too much, because again, my maintenance calories were way off and I didn't know how to change it and everything. So my suggestion to you is get the average of 3, take that number, and that is your maintenance. Now, again, this is just an estimation, so don't take this as gospel. You actually just need to see over time if the scale moves, you physically look better, or at least in the direction that you want it to be, and then adjust the calories from there. And there's a lot of different things that define your maintenance calories, like for example, how much muscle you have in your body, how active you are, how much energy does you have. There's a lot of different things. So just assume that you need to change that number quite often, at least every month or so. But yeah, as long as the scale is going the right direction, you're pretty much good. But find that maintenance calorie, and now I want to go in a deficit. A lot of people, they starve themselves. So for example, let's take the example that your maintenance calories is about 2,000 calories every single day. Now, for you to lose weight, you need to consume less than 2,000. But what a lot of people do is that they actually start eating heavily less, basically going on an aggressive cut. The problem with this is that yes, you will lose fat. There's no doubt about it. However, the goal is not to lose weight, it is to lose fat. So what you need to do is that you don't want to go too low, because then your body will actually start eating itself, meaning it will actually not just take fat storage from your body, but it will also take muscle. And muscle is what you want muscle in your body, because first of all, the more muscle you have, the more energy you use just automatically just by existing. AKA, you can eat more, which is one of the most, the best benefits of having more muscle. You can literally eat more to get the same results. But when you get lean, fat-wise, you get a lower body fat percentage. If you eat too low and all of your muscle is gone, you're gonna look like a twig, and that's not what you want. You want to look like somebody in a good physique. Therefore, you need muscle. So going more than 400 on a deficit is probably not recommended. The fatter you are, the more fat you have on your body, the more of an aggressive cut you can technically handle. But for most people, around, I would say 20% body fat and under, don't go more than a 500 calorie deficit, 400 to 500, or around that range. Because more than that, the body is simply going to turn to muscle to get nutrients and everything, because you're not feeding it through food. So yeah, this is a very, very big one, because this is why I actually like to take the fat loss journey for me a little bit slower, because I don't want to lose any muscle and I just want to have higher energy. So that's one of the negatives of starving yourself. You're gonna feel like shit, you're gonna feel cold, you're not gonna be able to sleep, you're gonna feel miserable, your whole life is just going to be terrible. So I don't suggest starving yourself. Find your maintenance calories and do a 400 calorie deficit. Now, if you're above 20%, you can go higher and more aggressive with the cut, because the leaner you are, the more the body will actually want to hold onto your fat storage in case of emergency, so the more muscle it will prioritize. That's why if you're severely obese, you can technically get away from eating a lot less. But again, if you want to feel somewhat good, don't do a severe cut. So that is the calorie side of things. But as you may know, calories is not just calories. We have proteins, we have fats, and we have carbs. And a lot of diets, they want to eliminate one macronutrient or another. So for example, the ketogenic diet, that's a very popular diet that a lot of people go on, is that they only eat proteins and fats and think that carbs is the all enemy and that is dangerous. I went on that, a mix between keto and carnivore, for about 6 months, because I thought it was good for my mental health, it was good for fat loss and everything, but it turned out that doesn't actually work that well for me. For a lot of people, if it works for you, for example, that's perfectly fine, do that. For me, it doesn't, because you need all of the macronutrients. You need fats, you need proteins, and you need carbs. Why? Protein is probably one of the most important ones, because that's actually like the building blocks for your body to build muscle and to actually keep it. So when you go into the gym and train, you're breaking down the muscle. Now you need to build it up again, and that's what's happening when you eat protein and when you rest. So you want protein, and you want enough protein. A good rule is about this is where it varies, because a lot of people say that your body weight times some number is your protein intake. But here's what I recommend for most people. And you can go a little bit over, a little bit under. But take your body weight in kilos first. We're going to do pounds. But do kilos, your current body weight, times 1.7. That's probably the amount of protein that you want. That is if you're under 20% body fat. Because let's say, for example, you're 300 kilos. You cannot eat like 500 grams of protein. That just doesn't make sense. So if you're above 20% body fat, or you're a little bit more on the chubbier side, it is way better to take your goal body weight and then times it by 1.7. And now that number should be like your goal of protein intake. Surprisingly enough, you don't really need that much protein, but it does satiate you. So if that's something that you prioritize, sure. More protein will never hurt, but too low protein will. So try to get enough protein. Now when it comes to pounds, this is your pounds times 0.8. That will get you the estimate of protein intake. And of course, if you're above 20% body fat, do goal body weight in pounds times 0.8. That's like our rough estimate. Now when it comes to the carbohydrates, this is super important. And for all macronutrients, really, the quality of the source. So complex carbs, simple carbs, it doesn't really matter, but you need your carbs. And the better quality foods you get it from, the better. Of course, getting your carbs from potatoes or sweet potatoes is of course better than eating candy. Like, I think you can use your common sense from that. But just getting your carbs in is very important because it's good for your testosterone, your energy, and your overall just feeling good. Funny enough, when you don't, or at least in my experience, when I don't eat carbs, I feel a lot less energy, even though I eat the same amount of calories. What that does is that you don't move as much. Like fidgeting, you don't move up, you don't feel like sluggish. That is your subconscious brain trying to lower your energy expenditure. Meaning you burn less calories, aka you burn less fat. This is why I love carbohydrates and usually incorporate that in your diet as well. Unless you really like keto or carnivore or anything like that. But yeah, that's it for carbs. When it comes to fats, you need fats. Now, again, the quality matters here. If you're getting this from a McDonald's burger or, for example, avocados or eggs, I think you can know the difference between those two, okay? The quality matters, but you need fats. A huge myth is that fat makes you fat, and this is just simply just not the case. I don't know why they decided to name the same fat you have on your body to the thing that they put in food, or like food consists of. That's just not the case, okay? The only reason why people think that fat makes you fat is because technically fat has more calories per gram of fat, but now we're getting into some complex thing. Don't think about it. Fat doesn't make you fat. You need fat for hormones and just bodily functions. If you want a brain that functions, you need fats. So overall, the ratio between proteins, carbs, and fats is take your protein goal, right? For most people, that's like around 20 to 30%. For me, it's around 25%. So 25% of your calories from protein, and then 45 to 50% of carbs, and then 30%-ish of fats. That is like a good basic range of your macronutrients. And to see this is very simple. Either go on chronometer.com or MyFitnessPal to see this. You need to track at least a week just to see like estimate, but that's how I would do it. Don't forget your protein, don't forget your carbs or fats or anything. Eat everything of those macronutrients. Again, quality is one of the things that matter the most. And eating the same thing every single day, that does make everything so simple because you don't need to track everything. But as long as you're within the calorie deficit that you decided to go with, you're going to lose fat. Now again, track your progress by weighing yourself. You don't need to weigh yourself every single day, but the more consistent you do, the better, okay? I've never properly weighed myself, but I do it right after my gym session, which is every single time, every day. I go to the toilet before because that impacts your weight, right? So for me, just seeing the weight, it can go like a crypto price. It goes up and down a little bit, but as long as the trend goes down, that's what you want. Now, for the second thing, this is pretty fucking easy. When it comes to exercise, again, we want things that are very sustainable, and I've tried every single workout plan and split you can probably imagine. I had a plan where I literally just trained legs. It's not recommended, okay? And a lot of people, they think that they need to train a lot more than they really need to. So a lot of the myths is like you need to train 5 to 7 times a week, then you need to torture yourself, you need to do all of that kind of stuff. That is not true. I've seen more strength gain than ever training 3 times a week. 1 time per body part. Very weird. But this is probably not scientifically correct for a lot of people, but a lot of people are sleep deprived, they don't get enough restoration. So what this does is that it allows more rest time between each time they put muscle under pressure and actually train it. So for me it works. For a lot of other people that actually works. 2 to 3 times a week in the gym for about 1 hour, that seems good enough, as long as you train every single muscle group. A lot of people think that they need to train each muscle group, like for example your shoulders or your chest, 2 times a week. You don't. You only need to train it 1 time a week. Now, the amount of sets you do and amount of reps you do is not really that important, but try to get at least 8 to 12 reps on each exercise and try your best to go to failure, which is against a lot of people's advice. But again, this is what has worked for me, and I guarantee you will work for you as well. Of course, don't ego lift. Try to do every single form properly. But yeah. Now, when it comes to what exercises to actually do, first of all, you don't need to go to the gym. You can do calisthenics and home workouts and everything like that. But when it comes to the gym, you want this to be sustainable. So what you want to do is just go to the gym, try out a lot of different exercises and try to find the ones that you enjoy the most. Because I used to go to the gym 5 times a week, 2 hours every single fucking day. I don't recommend it because, I mean, it was fun. I actually liked going to the gym. This is why I don't do 2 times a week. I do 3 times just because I like going to the gym. That's just me though. But you want to find those exercises that you actually enjoy, because when I got the most gain before, like I had an insane physique in about 2021-ish, and what I did then is that I just went to the gym and did the things that I enjoyed to do. But when I tried to put myself on a strict scientific plan, I didn't see the same gains, and then I just didn't like going to the gym anymore. So find the exercises that you actually like, train to failure, and try to get around 8 to 12 reps. That's just a very basic overview. Of course, we can do a lot more in depth, but yeah, that's pretty much it for resistance training. 2 to 3 times a week. Yeah. Now, when it comes to cardio, this is probably one of the most controversial things, but doing cardio is not that beneficial for fat loss. Reason being, and this is something that have really skyrocketed my progress in the last month or 2, because when I started incorporating low intensity cardio, that's when my fat loss really just started to go in the right direction. Because when you do high intensity, and if you don't know what I mean by that, it's like your heart rate, it goes up very hard. Think high intensity like boxing, HIIT cardio, running, all of that stuff, right? That's high intensity. Your heart rate goes up. But why is low intensity like walking on incline, swimming, cycling? I mean, of course, you can do high intensity on all of those, but just doing chill walking, doing that, why is that better? That is because your heart rate is actually lower. Now, most people think that, okay, well, if my heart rate is lower, I will burn less calories. Although that is true, we want to look at the way your body actually uses fat, because the higher the heart rate is, the more carbohydrates the body uses. Now, the lower the heart rate, the more fat the body uses. So yes, technically it's not all calories in and out, but think about it. If a bear suddenly try to attack you, you need to sprint away fast, and you need quick energy. That quick energy comes from carbohydrates. Now, when you're just walking, you're chilling, you're doing whatever you want to do, now your body doesn't need to be as efficient, so it taps into your fat storages. So yeah, this is very satisfying. Now, going on a walk doesn't seem like it actually burns fat, but it does. Now, the biggest thing here is that it's very sustainable. You can easily go out and walk for 30 minutes or whatever. Maybe not if you live in Norway and it's icy like me, but for me, I don't actually like walking just straight out on a flat surface, because steps are not steps. If you walk on incline, basically like a treadmill, and you raise the incline of the treadmill, that is going to increase the what is it called? The intensity of it. So I increase it to where I get into like 140, 130 beats per minute. I track it with a Whoop like this. You don't need to be like really about it, but like you should be able to have a conversation with somebody. If you have trouble doing that, you're probably exerting yourself too far, but you should be chilling. Like you should be just walking on an incline. It shouldn't be too much of an effort. Maybe you will break a sweat and everything. It does that for me. That is like the perfect range. If you can do that, I walk an hour a day, and maybe you're like, what the fuck? How can you do an hour a day? That is because I literally just put my phone in front of me and I watch YouTube. I watch YouTube or I listen to audiobooks or anything. That makes it effortless. So that is my tip to you. Do walking and low intensity exercise. You could do this just going out to walk into a dog. You can add more steps by parking as far away from the store as possible. There's a lot of ways to incorporate walking. Like for example, taking the stairs instead of the elevator. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but just walk. And if you want to up the intensity a bit and be way more efficient, do an incline on the treadmill and watch on YouTube or something like that. Now, when it comes to the final thing I want to talk about is that having inspiration is huge when it comes to fat loss, because maybe right now you're not where you want to be. So the best thing that you can do, you probably heard this before as well, is that the 5 people that you hang around with, that's going to determine your whole life. Now, I would add to that is that it's the 5 people that influences you the most. That is going to change who you are and what your goals is and how you behave. So having inspirations and having influencers around you, that's going to be beneficial. So for example, for me, back in the day when I was on my first lean journey, I was trying to cut down immediately. I had this other guy in the gym. He was going to the class with me, and he had such a good physique. He was strong, he looked good, so he was an inspiration for me. So I talked to the guy, and he was like, we were discussing like training and diet and everything, and he was like, I don't really eat candy. Like if I have a chocolate bar, sure, I can have a chocolate bar, but if not, I just stick to the plan. And back then I used to eat candy. Like I didn't know what calorie deficits really were, and I didn't know about protein and everything. So what I did, just immediately after hearing that, I just went to my mom and said, don't buy candy, because she was the one that was buying all of the candy back then in the weekends. After that, I really got lean. Of course, I underate hugely, but yeah, that's a topic for another point. But my point is, have influencers around you. Like for example, follow the people with the goal physique that you want on Instagram, on YouTube, whatever. And this is what I'm trying to do with you as well, is trying to be an inspiration like that. So I do stories and posts on Instagram, and each time you see that, that reminds me of the goal that you want to be on as well. So yeah. All of the links are in the description. And anyways, I'm going to make videos like this in the future as well. If you're seeing this, yeah, good luck, and I wish you success on your journey. See ya.